Honesty is one of the pillars of a healthy relationship, so we all want to know what makes some romantic partners lie to us, and how bad is it for the relationship? Well, a recent study addressed precisely that. Researchers found 7 reasons why people lie, and they mapped out 3 distinct clusters, 3 types of people in a relationship who lie. It turns out whether or not your partner lies to you depends on their attachment style, their personality traits, and it's also linked to the relationship satisfaction. Let's dive in. Question before we get started. Have you ever been lied to or lied in a romantic relationship? You guys always have the best anecdotes in the comments, so I'm going to try to read as many of them as I can. So let's talk about this research article. In study 1, they used a sample of 926 US participants, and researchers identified 7 distinct reasons why people lie to their romantic partners. One was malicious intent, genuinely wanting to see their partner suffer, not having their best interests at heart, such as gaslighting, lying about whether or not you actually said something so that it'll make your partner doubt their perception. Reason number 2, conflict avoidance, where if you're afraid that if you say the truth, it's going to bring about an argument, like not telling your partner that someone hit on you when you were out last night. Number 3, emotional appeasement, where you're lying to protect your partner's feelings, like not telling your partner that your mom said something hurtful about them. Number 4 is mistake concealment, covering up something that you're embarrassed about, like not telling your partner that you bought a zucchini instead of a cucumber at the store today because you didn't know the difference. Number 5 is privacy protection, withholding something that you don't feel comfortable sharing because of personal autonomy, like that your doctor said you have high cholesterol and you feel it's something private and something you don't really want them knowing about. Reason number 6 is sexual avoidance. Yes, apparently there is an entire category where people lie to avoid sex. And number 7 is attention seeking, which is pretty self-explanatory, like telling your partner that you're related to royalty so that they'll think that you're cooler than you are. But first, take a break with me. That break was sponsored by Opera Air. Click the link below to learn more. I suspect a lot of people say they lie because of one reason, but really it's another. Like if you don't tell your partner that you used to hook up with one of your friends, you might tell yourself it's just because, well, it's something private that I don't want them to know, or because I don't want to hurt their feelings, when really you might just be avoidant of conflict, and this is something not so private that they actually deserve to know, but you know that if you tell them, they're just going to get mad at you. Insecure attachment style was correlated with specific motives for lying. So people with avoidant attachment style lied more to create distance between themselves and their partner, like to protect their privacy, to avoid sex, whereas people with anxious attachment style lied more to get a sense of reassurance in the relationship, like attention seeking or hiding mistakes to avoid getting rejected. In study 2, we actually see 3 profiles of people who lied to their partners. So in study 2, the researchers looked at 576 adults in a relationship. The researchers looked at the links between attachment style, dark tetrad personality traits, which remember are narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and sadism. They looked at lying behaviors, and they looked at relationship satisfaction. And with that information, 3 profiles emerged. Number 1 category was what they called strategic soothers. This was 48% of the participants. The largest group of people lie to keep the peace in the relationship, to avoid conflict, to conceal mistakes, to protect their privacy. They don't want to upset their partner. They don't want to rock the boat. They see deception as a form of self-protection rather than something that can hurt the other person. These people had average levels of insecure attachment, low dark tetrad traits, and moderate relationship dissatisfaction, neither very high nor very low. The second category was transparent partners. This was 38%. These people rarely lie. They tend to be quite securely attached. They're low in dark tetrad traits, and they're in the most satisfying relationships. Duh. It's almost like honesty is crucial to the health of a relationship. Don't worry, we'll get into all that. But the third category was the most concerning one. Although they were in the minority, these types of partners are the ones that you should really stay away from. Can you guess what it was? Number 3 was antagonistic strategists, which was 14% of the sample. These people lie most frequently. They have a variety of motives for lying. Sometimes they will lie with deliberate intention to hurt their partner. They have the lowest relationship satisfaction, the highest levels of insecure attachment, and high levels of dark tetrad traits: narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and sadism. These people lie to their partners not because they're trying to protect something they love, like the relationship or the other person, but because it brings them closer to their selfish needs and it allows them to control other people. What are the real-life implications of this study? Firstly, it's confirmation of something that feels obvious, but the majority of people, apparently 62%, do not respect, which is that honesty is crucial to the health and happiness of a romantic relationship. The people who reported the highest levels of satisfaction in their relationship lied the least. Now, it's true that we can't assume causality here. It could be that these people lie less to their partners because they're happier, not that they're happier because they're more honest in their relationship. Like, I know sometimes people lie in relationships because they're worried the other person might not respond well to the truth, like that their partner will go into a jealous fit if they say like, oh, it was crazy at the grocery store today, someone hit on me. In those situations, the deception is a symptom of the problem, not the root cause. But there's also no doubt that deception causally corrodes relationships, because without trust, you have nothing. Once someone lies to you about something big, it's irrational for you to still trust them. You start doubting every little thing that they say to you and feeling insecure in the relationship, being hypervigilant for signs that they're going to lie to you again. Not only does lying harm the relationship, it also harms the person that you're lying to. They cannot give informed consent to what they're agreeing to. You're tricking them, basically, into signing a contract under false pretenses. You're doing a bait and switch. You're saying, this relationship is what you're agreeing to, and then you're doing something completely different behind their back. So yeah, it's not just a relationship issue, it's a human dignity issue. In my opinion, unless you're lying to someone for safety reasons, or you're lying about something that's intensely private to you, or because you're trying to surprise them with something, that's a betrayal. People really lie to themselves sometimes. They say like, oh, this is just something private, it's not a betrayal, it's just private. No, if your partner knew about it and would be mad at you, it's probably a betrayal, because we don't live in a vacuum. What we do impacts our partner. Even if it feels like something private, if it impacts our partner, it's a betrayal to not let them know. Another takeaway, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is a good chunk of people, 38%, don't lie to their partners. And out of those that do, the vast majority don't do it out of malice. The bad news is that a majority of partners do lie to their partners, and there is a minority of people that lies to their partner out of malice. So if you're looking for an honest partner, they do exist, they just might be a little harder to find. And if your partner is not completely honest with you, chances are it's not because they secretly hate you or they want to manipulate you. Most likely they just lack conflict management skills and they avoid difficult conversations because they think it's going to be better for the relationship. And it's also quite typical. I don't want to say normal, but it is typical that people do lie to their romantic partners. Like someone might lie to you because they're embarrassed or they're ashamed about something, because they're worried about how you might react, or because there's something private that they don't feel comfortable sharing. Obviously, it's not ideal for the relationship, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. They're not necessarily doing it to manipulate you. Like, let me give you an example. Recently, a friend of mine found out that I lied to her about something traumatic that happened to me when I was 8 months pregnant. The reason I lied to her was because it concerned somebody else's private information. And very recently, a week before her wedding, the same thing happened again. And I didn't tell her because it was a week before her wedding. I didn't want to burden her with something traumatic that had happened to me that was about somebody else's private information a week before her wedding, So for me, the reasons why I lied to her were emotional appeasement to not burden her before her wedding and privacy protection of someone else. So not all lying is super insidious and malicious. Sometimes it really is honestly the more moral thing to do. But quite honestly, is there anything you can do to make it more likely that your partner will be more honest with you? Obviously, you can't control what they do, but are there certain things that you can do to sort of foster an open space that makes it more likely that they'll be honest? Be compassionate and handle it with grace when your partner fucks up. Send the message that when you make a mistake, I'm not going to bite your head off for it. We're all imperfect humans, myself included, and while I might not like what you're telling me, you're not going to regret telling me. Like if they get the wrong flight tickets, don't start screaming at them. It's okay to sigh, to ask for them to please be more careful next time, to even express frustration if this is something that's happened multiple times, but don't punish them for telling you. People forget that your reaction when someone is opening up to you about something can be either a reinforcer or a punishment in terms of whether they're going to open up to you again in the future. If you, every time somebody is honest with you, punish them for it. That's just going to make them close up more and more over time. Something else you can do to make it more likely for the other person to open up to you is to respect your partner's privacy. Some things might feel embarrassing or shameful, and pressuring them to open up about those things before they're ready to will only make it less likely that they'll open up to you in the future. Let them feel safe enough to open up when they're ready. So, don't force someone to tell you about how they have like hemorrhoids or something like that. Something that is embarrassing that they just want to keep private for a little bit. Even if you suspect they have hemorrhoids, let them tell you on their time. Don't coerce them into telling you if they don't feel comfortable. And if your partner is avoidant in general of conflict, of painful emotions, ask them to go to individual and/or couples therapy. I also have an entire chapter of the Connection course dedicated to conflict management, so maybe you want to buy them the Connection course. The unpopular reality is that sometimes we have a role to play in why our partner lied to us. Not always, of course. I'm not talking here about things like infidelity or major betrayals, but sometimes if we have been too harsh with our partner when they make mistakes, if we have sort of tried to pressure them into sharing things that they don't feel safe, that person might start to close more and more of themselves and lie to us more. Another takeaway is that unfortunately, if you notice that someone has an insecure attachment style, be aware that they are more likely to deceive you. Not because they're a bad person for having an insecure attachment style, but simply because lying is a tool. It can be used either to push people away or to bring them closer. A healthily attached person is okay with being mutually dependent on another person, but also isn't desperately clinging on to that person for dear life. They understand that honesty is sometimes difficult, but it's more important than their own individual need to feel needed or to feel independent. And so a securely attached person is much more likely to be honest with you. Another takeaway, be careful of the 14% of partners who lie to hurt and manipulate you, likely stemming from dangerous personality traits. This is the real black box warning of this study. There is a small but realistic possibility that you might at some point date someone who lies in order to manipulate you for their personal gain to your detriment. Be wary of people who have a pathological need for validation, a cold detachment from other people's feelings, an instrumental and objectifying view of other people, or who seem to derive pleasure out of the suffering of others. Not only are these people likely to hurt you, the relationship is also unlikely to be satisfying. So even if you think, whatever, I just love them so much, so what if they hurt me? It's still not likely to end well, because the truth is they don't really love you in the way that you love them. They don't respect you as a person if they're lying to you in order to hurt you. But what about if you're the one lying? Get very real about why. Like I mentioned, a lot of people lie to themselves about the reasons why they lie. Be brutally honest. What is the real reason you're lying to this person? If you're lying because you think it's going to preserve the peace in your relationship or avoid hurting your partner, think again. Most often, that's not the case. You're just deteriorating the foundation of your relationship. It's like taking a hammer, drilling holes into the floor, and then acting surprised when the house falls down. You're deteriorating the very foundation. Of course it's going to fall down. And if you're lying to hurt your partner, obviously we're not going to solve that in a YouTube video. Go to therapy, realize that it is genuinely in your best intentions to stop manipulating people. But regardless of the reason, if you lie to your partner, realize that honesty is crucial to a healthy relationship, and that having a healthy relationship is crucial to your well-being, and find ways to talk about difficult things without avoiding it. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.